Hey, it's your favorite white privileged veteran here. Just wanted to kind of give my take on the whole situation regarding a female that was killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My first inclination is to say it's not necessarily a non-event, but it's an event that's worthy of like maybe one day's news. I mean, people die every day in the world. People die every day in the country. People die every day in our state. People die every day probably in the city that I live in. And it's always interesting to see what becomes newsworthy and how long that news is latched onto. Like with the George Floyd thing, that became one guy dies and it becomes like it's the most important guy that's ever died in the history of the United States of America. Obviously, the woman who died because she was a white woman is not going to, at this time in the United States of America, in our political environment, she is not going to warrant the sort of attention that some black convicted felon thug who overdosed on drugs in the streets of Minneapolis, she's not going to warrant the kind of attention that he did. But she's warranting some attention. The reason why is because of our political environment. It's all political with this whole situation. That's why this is big news, right? It's really not big news. It's being passed off as big news by both sides, the left and the right, because news is money. And the media makes money off this. And the politicians make money off this, not necessarily in direct monetary benefit, but in the furthering of their cause, as we're seeing with people like the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota. But this is just my introduction. So we'll go into all of that. I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible what my take on this is. Stay tuned. So, long story short, Minneapolis, Minnesota, a place that is known right now. I mean, there's a lot of cities in the country. There's a lot of cities in the country. And it's almost like when I was in the Army, a lot of times what would happen is, of all the hundreds of soldiers that you have to deal with, there was always just 2 or 3 of them that took 99% of your time because they were problem children. And Minneapolis is one of those problem children, where you've got an extremely blue city, so blue it's almost like it's like it's almost purple or something. It's so blue it's like a almost black. That's how blue it is. Like when you dye your hair, it's either going to be a green dye or a blue dye, right? But you can dye your hair black, blue-based black. Minneapolis is a blue-based black city, man. It's like, it's so blue it's black. Not in the race sense of black, but like, that city is blue as hell. It's like any sane, conservative, rightist, Republican, whatever you want to call him, if you live in that city, you're crazy. You're not even sane. You shouldn't be there. That's how blue that city is. Like, living in the city limits or even anywhere near the city limits of that city, you shouldn't be there. That's how blue that city is. That Tim Walz dude and that mayor of that city, it's a blue state, I believe, right? Minnesota, right? Blue state. But like a lot of blue states, like Seattle, Washington. Seattle rules Washington. Even though a lot of Washington's not actually blue. There's a lot of rightists in Washington, but because of Seattle and Seattle's enabler, Olympia, the capital of Washington, just down the road, by the way, you can drive there fairly quickly from Seattle. It's not that far away. Just down I-5, right? It rules that state. Minneapolis is like a city that's basically ruling this state, Minnesota. Even though a lot of people in Minnesota are not leftists. They're not blue. But that city is like the engine driving that state, and that city is so blue. So blue. The George Floyd thing happened there. We know this. Just recently, we've got this Somali fraud going on. So how convenient that something came along like this in order to distract from that. Because right now, the mayor of Minneapolis, who's implicated in this fraud, the governor of the state's implicated in this fraud. You've got people up in D.C., Ilhan Omar, who are implicated in this fraud. How convenient that something like this has happened to distract from that. International news, right? National news at least, right? That's why it is. How convenient. How convenient. Plus, they hate ICE right now because Donald Trump's president. If Donald Trump ceases to be president and some leftist becomes president, suddenly the ICE concerns go out the window. ICE will continue to operate. DHS will continue to operate. Border Patrol will continue to operate. All of those agencies that deal with illegal immigration, they'll continue to operate. But nobody's going to be messing with them because Donald Trump's not president. Even though they're going to continue to do investigations and deport people, no one's going to be messing with them. It's all political. This woman's death has been turned into huge news because of politics. Bottom line is, when I was in the Army, it was all about safety, safety, safety when we were training and conducting operations. Even just something as simple as doing maintenance in the motor pool. It was all about safety, 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 safety first, right? A lot of industries are like that. If you go work construction now, you can work any company. Safety, safety, safety. Let me tell you what one of the most unsafe things you can do is. Find law enforcement operations and insert yourself into them. That's pretty freaking unsafe. If something bad happens to you, you made that choice. You brought that on yourself. You can talk about, this officer's at fault, he's guilty, he's a murderer, all you want. Go ahead, talk about all that. You want to take the guy to court, whatever, you want to arrest him, you want to dox him and sick vigilantes on his family. Doesn't change the fact that this woman died because she inserted herself into an unsafe situation. Law enforcement operations are not safe situations as far as day-to-day life goes. And if you willfully insert yourself into something like that, something bad, your risk level goes way up. Something bad might happen to you. Right or wrong is out the window. You've made a decision. You climbed that mountain. You want to be a rock climber? You might fall off the cliff. Your equipment might fail. Any kind of risky activity you engage in. Did she know that she was engaging in a risky activity? Maybe she didn't. And here's why. Because it's almost like these people who were doing the stuff that she was doing, these so-called legal observers, it's almost like they're being told by leaders something that would never happen in the Army, something that never happens at any job I've ever worked, where leaders encourage you to do unsafe things to further their cause, the governor's cause, the mayor's cause, the extremist leftist cause. You're a tool, not a soldier for them, because even in the military, as a soldier, your leaders are protecting your safety. Even when you go to war, which I, by the way, have over 4 years of my life in combat as a combat armed soldier, not just a cook or a finance specialist. I was a combat armed soldier, hence the name of my channel. I was an artillery soldier. Even in war, it was safety, safety, safety. Knowing that our lives were in danger every day conducting combat operations. I knew that my leaders cared about me because we never stopped talking about safety. These people don't talk about safety. They're encouraging people like this woman that got killed to insert themselves into law enforcement operations. And when you do that, you're putting everybody's safety in jeopardy. You're putting your own safety in jeopardy. You're putting the uniformed personnel conducting the operation's safety in jeopardy by adding chaos to that situation. You're putting the people there investigating safety into jeopardy. And these are the people that you're supposedly protecting, these illegal immigrants, many of which are criminals who've come into our country and committed criminal acts. It's one thing if our own people commit criminal acts, at least we can police our own house. But people coming into our country, it's like somebody walking into my house, committing a criminal act. I can take care of my house with my children and whoever I invite into here. But if you just walk into my house uninvited, illegal, and start committing criminal acts, that's a whole different situation. And that's what's happening with a lot of these illegals, not all of them. Nonetheless, you're an illegal. And you think you're protecting them by inserting yourself into law enforcement operations. You're putting everybody at risk. You're adding chaos to the situation, which is what you're trying to do, which is what your leaders are trying to encourage you to do. People like Tim Walz and that stupid mayor of Minneapolis, whose name I can't even remember at this time because he's such a POS. Same with that Gavin Newsom, governor of California. Like, these people should all be eating lunch together. Garbage individuals. You think they care about you? You think government cares about you? Big government, small government? The socialists want big government. The rightists, they don't want big government. Doesn't matter. Small, big, you think that they care about you? That's like thinking that the person behind the counter at the fast food restaurant that you go order your sandwich cares about you. They don't care about you. They care about themselves and their bottom line and how many votes they're going to get. That's what they care about. You think Tim Walz cares that that woman was killed? Hell no. You're delusional if you think some elected official genuinely cares about your life. That's ridiculous. And that's one of the biggest problems with people like her and the people that she's following around and these organizations that she's getting involved with. They've got so much faith in humanity. That's a leftist trait, that they think humanity is inherently good. Therefore, big government must be inherently good because humans are so great, right? No, humans suck. We are not inherently good. Rightists seem to understand that. Leftists do not. These people who are going to agitate and get in the way of these law enforcement operations, you are assuming a certain amount of risk. And if bad things happen, you put yourself into that situation. Not a good idea. Not recommended. That's my take on it. We can talk about how guilty the guy may or may not be that fired the shots. Doesn't change the fact that this woman's dead. And she had kids. That's what everybody, she was a mother. Really? Now we want to talk about family values with leftists, people who are willing to rip babies out of their womb just because it's inconvenient at the moment to be having one. This woman's got 3 kids. 2 of them weren't with her. Wonder why? A mother, right? In a country where judges generally, probably upwards of 90% of the time, judges award the mother custody of the children. Why didn't she have custody of 2 of her kids? It's a pretty curious question, isn't it? She had custody of the one kid. The dad was dead. My suspicion is he committed suicide. Probably, in my opinion, maybe she contributed to his depression. Who knows? But nonetheless, now that child that I want to say he was 6 years old, he just dropped her off at daycare earlier in the day, whatever. Now he's literally orphaned. No mother or no father. Because she doesn't give a crap about family. Well, she's deceased now. She didn't give a crap about family. That child was probably just an inconvenience to her. What was more important to her was to go seek adventure and excitement. You know, I'm a military guy. Same reason that people join the military. Well, a lot of people anyways. You want something bigger than you. You want to be a part of something bigger than you. You want adventure and excitement in your life, right? That's all these people are doing. These leftists that go insert themselves into these situations. That's all they're doing. It's all about the fight. Doesn't necessarily matter about the subject. They want to defend immigrants, right? That's their purpose, right? That's the big fight that they're fighting, right? They don't give a crap about them immigrants. I'll tell you what, them immigrants don't give a crap about them. Illegal immigrants. I should qualify that, right? Illegal immigrants, not just immigrants, illegals. Okay? These white women who are running around following ICE, they don't care about them illegals. They're not protecting their community. This woman was so new to that community, she wasn't even really a part of it. As evidenced in the statement by her wife, where the wife says, somebody was asking the wife, have you guys called anybody? Is somebody coming to help you with this? Where your family, that lesbian wife said, we don't know anybody here. We just got here. Really? Why did you just get there? Is it because you wanted to come to a place where you knew you could be an agitator and get involved with stuff like this instead of staying at the house and doing real family stuff and raising your kid? These people left Missouri, Kansas City is my understanding, moved to Canada like some Rosie O'Donnell bull crap, and then ended up in Minneapolis. Things didn't work out in Canada, huh? Big idea. Let's move to Canada. Rosie O'Donnell did, or moved to Ireland, right? We're going to move out of the country. Donald Trump became president. Let's move to Canada. Didn't work out. I want to know the story behind that. Why didn't it work out? What happened in Canada? Wasn't what you thought it was going to be, huh? All your little left-hearted dreams were shattered up there, huh? So now we'll go to Minneapolis and start inserting ourselves into ICE operations. And look what happened. And you cared about your family, right? But you wanted all that adventure. Well, you got it. You got your excitement. You got your excitement. And that wife of hers, I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth it for you to have all that excitement. Now you need to go find some other woman and start throwing her into it too, right? Keep that excitement going, right? Good times. Tim Walz loves it. He's encouraging you to do it. That mayor's encouraging you to do it. Those communist organizations being funded by the George Soroses of the world, they're encouraging you to do it. You don't want to take a look at the reality of the situation. You don't want to take a step back and say, maybe I'm being duped here. Maybe I should reconsider things. Nah, just dive right in. So adventurous. Inherent risk. Put yourself in a situation. They call it F around and find out. You found out. Sucks to be you. Anyways, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Hit like or subscribe. I'd like it if somebody watched my videos. Have a great night. Oh, and if you want to live, don't go insert yourself into law enforcement operations. I'm sure that if you're sane and of sound mind, you probably have better things to do.